Emma.
I'm Melissa.
And this is an episode of
What the hell did I just read?
Today our episode's going to be a little bit different. We read Heart of Darkness, and it sparked a 3-hour-long conversation between the two of us on a variety of topics, which can be basically summed up into 3 main categories. Race, sorry your face, gender, and creed. Reason there will be, buttons up here for you to click if you want to skip to a specific topic, or you can just watch the whole video because we don't know how long this is going to be and we don't want to leave anything out.
Yes.
So, we begin now with race.
So in Heart of Darkness, there are several perspectives you can take on where the racism comes from, because it most definitely exists.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, okay.
In spades!
Okay, so the first one you can do is not think super deeply about the characters, which is how I started off, and, then we continued conversation, and through conversation my opinions evolved, which was that Joseph Conrad, the writer, is the racist bastard. And then
the other position that you can take, which is the one that I found when I first started reading, is that Joseph Conrad is writing for the times and does a beautiful job of writing a spectacularly racist character in Marlowe and in Kurtz. So,
Kurtz, to me, honest to God, felt like a metaphor for Hitler.
I just said that. We were talking about it, and we were just eating dinner, and we were talking about it.
Charismatic psychopath who will kill everyone.
And I went, "You mean like Hitler?" So there's that, and
it's more like a this. No, stop.
No. So we concluded that if you go along the lines where Conrad is not the racist,
but Marlowe
is,
because you're seeing it through his eyes.
And the reason that we came to this conclusion is because at the end, nobody looks good.
No one.
If I feel that if Conrad was writing as a racist, writing other racists, he really would have made the people, the Europeans, look good in the end, because he would want to prove that they were right. Since he didn't, I think he's trying to...
and all.
I think he's trying to educate the reader about, this discrimination that happens,
and how no one
comes out of it looking good, or no one comes out of it okay or unscathed. And the other thing that we're watching in class right now is Apocalypse Now, which is, holy crap. There's a puppy.
But it's like, I know that it's not what you should be thinking about, but oh my god, the puppy.
And
I'm done.
Okay. And so one of the things that it's about the Vietnam War, and it's not my kind of movie, but I highly suggest that you watch it because it's a brilliant film.
If you don't feel like reading Heart of Darkness, because it's actually
the same thing. There's a character
named
Kurtz has the same name, and I apologize for that.
Trains.
That is a train. I live about 6 feet away from a railroad track, and this is my backyard. So that will be happening.
Will be interrupting us.
That will be happening every so often. We'll try to not talk over the train so that you can hear us, but I can't. I'll try to
edit the train
out. We'll see. Okay, so the next thing we talked about, beyond just who's the racist in Heart of Darkness,
was some of the language used. Well, at least that's something I wanted to talk about in the video for at least a second.
Oh, sure, no, go ahead.
Okay, a lot of, I felt like the racism in this book was the...
I have to check.
That's fine. Was the dehumanization of the native Africans, because it took place along the River Congo.
Right.
And what really, bugged me so much about the language in this book was every single native African was described as speaking in unintelligible grunts, was described in parts, never as a whole human being, were described using the word black at least 7 or 8 times, like black limbs and black arms and a black torso and a black head, as if we couldn't conclude.
They're like those...
The color would,
They're like the really old Barbie dolls that have, one limb from...
Apparently. And they talk about, rolling eyes and flashing sharpened teeth, because apparently every other person on the Congo is a cannibal. Apparently. Over there. Anyway. But then, also, what upset me the absolute most was that no one, as a Native African in this story, was described as having a face. Like, how dehumanizing is that? Like, whenever they were described, like, with a face, which was only, like, once or twice, it was either mask-like, or ugly, or grotesque, or contorted, and, like, I was just like,
we will talk more about dehumanization when we get to the second topic, which is gender, which we'll get to, quickly. So, the last thing we were talking about was different kinds of racism, and how we came up with two main types. Categories. There's the one type, which is ignorant racism. That is when you aren't malicious, you aren't, like, actively racist or
you're not going out
discriminatory, and you're not going out,
deliberately ruining lives,
or preaching anything. It's just the little comments that you make that can be perceived as offensive,
that you don't always actually understand.
You don't always actually understand that you're saying something that's offensive. Beyond, and I would argue that actually, if you think about in today's world, I don't know what happens where you are, but in our school, there's a lot of people that say, nigga. But I can't say it.
No, I mean, like, if I were to try to say that, I would get in trouble.
And I think that becomes intentional. But if you're going out and you're saying something,
there's more social at our school. It's kind of weird. It's usually like homie or bro.
Right, and there's a musical.
It's really weird.
That and I have to connect it back.
We're going back to Hairspray?
No, this is Avenue Q. Okay, and there's a song in Avenue Q called Everyone's a Little Bit Racist. And, the guy, it's like, how, I think the line is, let's see how well I can quote this musical, is, how many Oriental wives have you got? Yeah, he's married to a Chinese woman, or Korean or something. Japanese. She's Japanese.
Took you a minute.
I haven't seen it in a while, but and the wife comes out on stage. It's just like the term is Asian American, and I know you're not meaning to be, but using the term Oriental is offensive to me. Mm-hmm. And that's really what that kind of racism is, where it's still racist. You're still being...
You're not doing it right.
And you're not doing it the right way, but you're not malicious about it. You're not being like, oh, I hate them. You're not
running out to join the KKK.
I don't think I'm better than them. I just don't know any better. And I think that is more predominant, and also in today's culture, and also less dangerous than the more violent, malicious kind. More malicious kind, actually. Just, let's forget violence.
Which is where my side came in of the argument, where I kind of brought up the whole, however, the ignorance is not to be underestimated in its nature. Putrid. That the ignorance should not be underestimated in how dangerous it can be, because the ignorance, the little things, the not understanding can really, really, lead to people not realizing that certain things are wrong, things then, escalating eventually, and then it's too late, and basically, I'm saying, my side was that ignorance to the racism that exists in a society, a culture, a family, a school, a whatever, is extremely dangerous, in that ignorance can be the catalyst for malicious people to create tragedies.
Right. And I totally agree with her, and I do agree with her on that. But I think that the one thing, and I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, is that most people, at least in my experience, most people that are this specific ignorant kind of racism, if you take them aside and explain that no, that's not PC, or no, you shouldn't say that, or whatever, they'll take that to heart, and they'll be like, oh, I didn't know, okay, well, now I'm gonna change.
Yeah.
Not oh, I'm gonna change my ways, but no, just okay, well, now I won't say
God,
that.
I didn't know,
Or
I didn't mean to be offensive.
I didn't mean, because they're not trying to be offensive. They don't have any ill feeling towards the they
people
just don't.
Aren't always terrible.
No,
just
and
most times.
I mean, like, I get it. I get it with being from the South. I get all the time asked if I'm a Republican or if I, you know, wear cowboy boots all the time or own a 10-gallon hat or, you know, whatever. And
I again apologize on the behalf of the Northeast.
For the record, no, yes, no. I do own cowboy boots. I love them very much. But,
I always thought they were pretty.
They are
personally.
But, like, they don't, I mean, they're not saying it to be offensive or they're not trying to stereotype me.
They just
don't know. They've never been there. They think, the only thing that they might know about Texas is what they see in
a Western
movie or, whatever, where everyone's a hick and talks like this and
I'm so sorry.
chews on wheatgrass, which we do. And I'm not saying that the stereotypes come out of nowhere because I really do know people that are very there are people.
There will always be people who fill stereotypes.
That fit stereotypes.
But the people who fill stereotypes, it is unacceptable as a human being to believe they represent their entire population of whatever.
Be it race, be it gender, be it regional
ethnicity, religion, sexuality, absolutely
whatever.
Anything you can think of. One person cannot be considered the entire representation,
right?
Because people are so complex and vary so greatly. It's just unacceptable
to literally anything. Like, you can't say, all teenagers are bad because one specific teenager got drunk and egged your house. Because this is what we do on our free night.
Classic literature.
I think the most I've egged is a frying pan, and then I ate it. So,
I wouldn't go so far as to say we're boring, because we do interesting things.
We do interesting things.
We're not malicious.
No.
As an individual basis,
all right,
kind of.
Moving on, because this is going to get off topic, and I really want to be this take. All right, we're working on trying to get cutting it down to how many times it takes us to film one video.
Okay, so moving on to gender.
Gender inequality. Okay.
Okay.
This is going to specifically pertain to the feminist movement.
And also, I'm just going to point out, and not why females are superior, but why equality is fabulous.
And just how it relates back to the civil rights movement and all this stuff. This is not us.
This is also not a poor me, I'm a girl video.
No, this is not. And if we come off that way, I apologize.
I like being a girl.
I am very proud of being a female. I think it's awesome. Okay. So, disclaimer is over. So, the thing that when we were talking about race and the different kinds of racism, the one thing that we noticed was that there are a lot of similarities between the civil rights movement and the way that people are racist and the way that people are sexist and the women's rights movement, and how and the one thing I said that really sort of segued into this discussion is that for a long time
people
who
were previously enslaved.
White man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I went ahead. Sorry.
To him, the white woman and the black man were the same. And then, actually, black men had the right to vote before any kind of woman. So,
it's fascinating how someone who was previously counted as 3/5 of a person got the right to vote before a female of any race.
And
it's just
because for
interesting
a long time,
factoid in history.
For a long time, women were used as
baby machines.
And they were, even up into the 1800s, early 1900s.
Barefoot in the kitchen.
They were, used as I like, you have a lot of money, you could be beneficial to me. Here, go marry my daughter. So
fascinating, isn't it?
Okay. So that was really, that was the gist of that conversation, was just lots of rant about how gender inequality and the fact the gender inequality is still a thing.
Yeah.
Okay?
I mean, racism is still a thing, but gender equality is also still a thing.
And gender inequality is still seriously a thing. I mean, like, we have
the fact that in this past, like, 6-month period, we've passed new bills protecting women's rights to equal pay kind of makes me sad that it had to happen now.
There's all this, you know, I mean, the one thing that we talked about is the tremendous amount of respect that we both hold for strippers. And this is going to get back to the dehumanization that we talked about, which is, I actually am, you know, friends with someone who is a stripper. And they are so happy and so confident, and they're not like poor or struggling through college or struggling to keep up with a kid. They just really like to dance, and they really are proud of what they do, and they are very feminist.
Personally, I feel like pole dancing should be an Olympic sport.
Oh my
Can
God,
you imagine?
so hard.
Can you imagine the body strength it takes to support
I mean,
yourself with just your hands on a pole and make it look like you're walking up a set of stairs vertically?
It's amazing, and like the you know,
the amount of confidence to be able to walk out and be like, "Pay me, bitch, I'm gorgeous." Like
the way that this gets back to
I want that kind of confidence.
Right. And the way that this gets back to the dehumanization is when you start talking about the people that go see the strippers and that watch the, you know, porn. Not that porn is bad, that's a whole different thing. But that
completely different video. Not today.
On a different channel. That, you know, or that go out and, you know, buy the Playboy magazine but are still for women's rights, because I actually don't, you're not looking at them as women. You are looking at them as something that you want to put your man bit in. That's what you're doing. They're not people to you. To one who does this thing. Yeah. You know,
not you specifically.
I am not saying that you do any of these things, but no, it is. I mean, and this happens in friggin' Apocalypse Now,
which is literally based on Heart of Darkness.
So this is relevant. All right, moving on to Creed, because this is almost a 20-minute video, and I would really like to finish. So the last thing, and I actually am coming at this from a really interesting perspective, because for those of you that don't know, the Jews were very active in the civil rights movement in America, because we have been there. There is a huge part of our culture that is based around the fact that we were slaves for 2,000 years. Less than 2,000 years. 400 years. Something. You know, I don't know. No, but we have this, major holidays, and we have been oppressed by almost every culture we've tried to live in.
I'm sorry, people are terrible.
It's okay. And so we were, you know, the Jews were trying to, you know, but there's so much discrimination based on creed, and that just happens. I mean, it's like, just today, my mom is a professor at Drexel Med, and earlier this week she had a young Muslim man come into her office complaining about her proctor. She'd been giving an exam, and someone had been proctoring it and called time, and this kid continued to, you know, write on his paper, and so she took the paper away and said he was cheating, and he came in and complained about racism to my mom, and my mom basically, you know, shut him down nicely, but shut him down and was like, not everything's about race, and, you know, this kid explained that he had been
singled out
because of the Boston bombings, and, you know, which is understandable, and which is wrong, you guys. Just
understandable here, for feeling singled
singled out, and, like, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't be like, oh, we got bombed, it must be the Muslims, or oh, we got, you know, hit with a brick, it must be Cheltenham.
Our high school is a special place full of interesting human beings,
you know,
some of which are freshmen.
So that's wrong, and it's also wrong to assume that because someone is calling you out on something that you're doing that's not okay, that's not good, that's not right, that they're being racist, because you are not privileged. Like, you don't have the right to special treatment because you're...
Because of anything, honestly. If you're a
thing.
human, you should be treated like a human. We're done. Okay.
Do you want to, like, take it really fast? Sorry, her mom is calling, and so...
Hello? About why I should be calming down with my white guilt, because I really, really should.
Okay. We're gonna start now. So, sorry for that. We both had, things to take care of,
and it occurred to me, in reflection of this video, that I've been apologizing the entire time.
I might not have said sorry, but I have been doing the, like, please don't be offended by this.
Yeah,
like, we're not trying to be offensive.
We then had a quick segue about how white guilt is a thing, and how maybe we should be calming the hell down about it, because, as an individual, I didn't ask her if she was a Republican because she was from Texas, and nor did I assume this. So, it's not technically on me that the entire Northeast, not the entire, but, the Northeast has kind of been, asking her, are you a Republican? So, I mean, again, like I was saying earlier, not one person can be the representation of an entire culture or entire anything.
Right.
So, I apologize for not doing what I said I was doing, because that's something I as an individual did and should be calming down about. My apologies for things I as an individual didn't do, but recognizing that humanity sucks.
And recognizing that there are people that do it. And I think that that's the thing, and the fact that I have to say, please don't be offended by my opinion.
Because we're stating
white,
this all as opinion.
This is an entirely opinion video. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong.
You can feel entirely different from us and be valid in your own eyes.
In fact, if you feel differently, please
let us know. We'd love to be educated.
But be respectful. And
please.
Don't, because it's just, common courtesy. All right, so that's our little sidebar. I think we talked about, there's examples of all of this. And there's so much that we can talk about that is discrimination and how it all relates back to Heart of Darkness, and I don't even know, there's so much.
So much. You should read it, because it's an interesting read.
You should read it.
And Conrad is less the racist so much as Marlowe, as far as we've determined.
And Kurtz.
Kurtz is a metaphor for Hitler.
So, I think that we are done.
We are done for the day.
We will edit this.
We finished your mom's story, so yes, we are done for the day.
And
Feelings in Heart of Darkness, really good, really
good.
interesting. Actually pretty short, so...
Yeah, it's short, but it's also it's heavy reading.
Yeah, it's work.
You can't
it's work.
Just, decide, I'm gonna sit down and read this.
I needed the audiobook to read along with to get through it, to be honest.
It
was really good. It was really good.
Get progressively darker as it gets
It was really good, but I as an individual needed the audiobook to get through it, because that way I could not fall behind, not stop understanding what I'm reading and just going on and not getting it.
You can't just read it. And
you
not
can't
get
just.
It. And I do actually.
It's not a book to be taken lightly.
I do actually encourage if you can get someone else to read it. Alongside you, so you have someone to talk about. That really helps.
That helps a lot with comprehension.
Of course, all of these books that we've done so far, we've read in school, we've talked about in class, so
there's been weeks of discussion behind these videos.
We are coming to these videos with, thoughts that we've formed through
going back and forth.
Through discussions that we've talked about.
Gone back and forth with other people.
And these are, our final thoughts on the book.
That is, of course, until we talk to more people and get into more new ideas.
Right, so, final for now. This is actually our third to last video.
Yes, because we're going to be doing A Small Place. And To the
Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf.
A Small Place by Virginia Kincaid. Not Virginia. I can't talk. Jamaica Kincaid. I'm not wonderful with words.
If you really do have any other suggestions for books that we should read, or if you don't want the channel to go dead, please, as always, leave them in the comments down below. We hope to see you soon. Bye.
Bye.